Welcome back, DP Review TV viewers. It's Jordan Drake here to answer the questions that we've been seeing in the comments a lot. People have been asking, what is that microphone that you're using? Are you guys going to review that mic? It's the DJI wireless mic kit, and yes, we are going to review it, but before I tell you why I'm interested in this mic, I want to talk about the history of all the other wireless solutions we've used. Now today I'm the only person on camera, so we're using a Sennheiser AVX system, which I really like. It's just been extremely consistent, but it's quite expensive, and we've been looking for a good dual channel system for quite a while, because often Chris and I are on camera together, or you might want to be running a lavalier mic and then a wireless directional mic simultaneously. Dual channel systems make a lot of sense for that, and we have been through a whole bunch of them. The first dual channel system I tried out was the Deity Connect, and despite the fact that the receiver was absolutely enormous and I could barely reach the electronic viewfinder on my camera, I was pretty happy with the performance until we went to Tokyo. I mean, in a very electronic city, we were getting tons of interference. It was basically unusable. So I started looking at other options. And for the last little while, we've been using the Rode Wireless Go 2. I love the very compact receiver, small transmitters, but it's had some issues as well. On our recent flagship full-frame mirrorless shootout, I had both Chris and my wife Evelyn wired up with the Rode Wireless Go 2 transmitters, but anytime they looked at each other, were facing each other, the signal would actually drop. So initially I had them kind of with their backs against each other. It was weird and awkward, so we wound up using just a single transmitter and fading the audio up and down. It's hardly ideal and defeats the entire purpose of having dual system sound. But then more recently, I've actually had the receiver shutting down anytime I power up one of the transmitters, so I do effectively have a single audio channel system. It's not a good solution, so I was thrilled when the new DJI wireless mics showed up. Now these microphone systems have a ton of features, and we're not going to get to all of them in this video, so I'm really going to isolate the things that are most important to me when I'm producing a YouTube episode, which I know is something that a lot of you will be doing as well. You can tell Chris is filming because he's managed to work a puddle shot into the composition. Nice job, Chris. So why was I excited about the DJI wireless solution? I mean, this is a company who's never produced a microphone before. They're best known for like drones and gimbals. But DJI was offering a lot of features that would address some of the problems that I had with the Wireless Go 2. Let's walk through some of those. So let's start off talking about the design. And I actually really like the receiver designs on both of these units, but the transmitters are another thing. Now, most of the time you'll want to plug a lavalier microphone or any other type of microphone into the transmitter units, but you do have the option to just use them as a mic themselves. They both have built-in microphones. And I mean, everybody knows what the Rode Wireless Go looks like. They're these little boxes, and honestly, I find they look really silly and really distracting when people wear them on camera. I prefer the look of the DJI. It actually looks like a microphone, but more than that, I prefer the sound of the DJI to the Rode Wireless Go 2. This is the sound from the internal microphone on the Rode system. And it's fairly clear, but I just find maybe it's a little bit flat. Okay, now this is the audio from the built-in microphone on the DJI transmitter. And you can hear, I'd say it's just a little bit brighter, maybe a bit clearer. Now, if you do use those built-in microphones, I like that both companies include a little proprietary, it's not really quite a dead cat, it's too small, it's like a dead chinchilla that you can mount onto these, and that will block the wind noise quite effectively, but the way that you mount it with the Rode Wireless Go is incredibly awkward. I always feel like it's gonna break, and it constantly pops off. The DJI solution works a whole lot better. There's other smart design decisions on the DJI transmitters that just make them better than the Rodes. We have a magnet on the clip. Now you might be wondering how that would be useful, but your talent's not always gonna have a zip-up shirt or something with buttons, a space for you to attach the transmitter to that. If they're wearing a t-shirt or something like that, you put the magnet in their shirt, attach the transmitter on the outside, it works very well. On the DJI transmitters, the nice thing is they vibrate. So if you do accidentally bump that power button, your talent will know immediately, oh, I just turned my mic off. They can power it right back up. It's a smart choice, but there is one real design flaw with this. And that major issue is actually part of the receiver. The shoe mount on it is incredibly fragile. In just over a month that I've been using this system, I've already broke it. It's a brand new microphone, so there's no parts available. So it's been dangling off the side of the camera, or I've had to gaff tape it to the camera. It's a real weak point. So how do you charge these two units? Well, they both have solutions in the box. Rode has decided with the Wireless Go 2 that they're gonna throw in a rat's nest of 3 USB-A to USB-C cables, which basically means if you wanna conveniently charge them, you have to get a separate USB hub, or you can buy like a third-party charging station as an option. But what DJI does is, right in the box, you're getting a convenient kind of travel station, just like what you'd see with AirPods, but quite a bit bigger. It's got an internal battery in it. And honestly, I don't know how many times it can charge the unit, because 2 charges was more than enough to get me through a full day of shooting. And when you want to charge up the power station itself, it's just a single convenient USB-C slot on it. It's a way better charging option. So it's pretty smart. With both of these systems, you're really using the receiver to do all of the adjustments, change the settings, things like that. But there are some real differences there. With the Rode, you only have a couple buttons on it. If you really want to change settings or anything like that, initially you actually had to plug this into a computer through USB-C and use Rode software. Now, thankfully, they've updated it so you can use a smartphone app in order to adjust some of the camera settings on this. But I still find it unwieldy. You know, what if you get out in the field and, oh, I forgot to install the app before I went out? Now you're out of luck. What's really great with the DJI is it's just a touchscreen interface that gives you quick access to all of your commonly adjusted controls. Now, the DJI menus do still take a little bit of getting used to, because you have to remember, oh, if I swipe here, which menu options is that actually going to bring up? But still a much better option than the Rode. And speaking of the Rode, look at where the interface is placed. It's actually on top of the receiver, which means it's on top of your camera if you attach it. That means if you're shooting at eye level or you're filming yourself, you can't see your audio levels. I like the solution on the DJI. If you use that admittedly very fragile shoe mount, you can have it facing back towards the camera operator or facing towards the talent, so you can see your own levels if you're filming yourself. It's a better way to go, and this screen is a lot brighter as well. All right, so here's the fun part. We're going to do the range test of these 2 microphone systems, starting with the Rode Wireless Go that's on me right now. And I've actually been really impressed with the range on these units, but it is very dependent on line of sight. So I'm going to walk backwards, see how far I can get before it drops off. Now, I should mention Chris is shooting me at a 50mm equivalent focal length, nice and normal, so get a good idea of the distance you can expect. Now, mic check, it's still going, wow. Still good? I can't see what thumb it is anymore. Check. Now I just look like a weirdo talking to myself. I can't go much further. I'm going to be on the road. So we get really excellent range on the Rode Wireless Go 2 as long as they maintain line of sight between the receiver and transmitter. We do run into some issues sometimes, though, when the receiver can't see the microphone. So now I'm going to walk away from the camera and we're going to see at which point it distorts. And man, I got to tell you, like, I certainly don't mind doing microphone tests. You just like, it's mostly walking backwards and forwards. You just take a nice stroll on a beautiful day. So Chris has just informed me that is the point where it started to distort when we have the mic not facing the camera. So you can see that really restricts your range. All right, now let's check out the DJI wireless mic's range. And I have had a few drop-offs with this, but it's mostly been when I'm not maintaining a line of sight. Let's see how it does if I keep these 2 seeing each other. Mic check, 1, 2, mic check, test. Here we go. My favorite thing about doing these range tests is when you walk past people walking backwards and talking to yourself. It's like a specific type of crazy that people don't usually encounter in the wild. Ooh, I'm gonna pull out my phone and film this from my perspective as well. All right, this is what it looks like from Jordan's perspective. We're pretty far away from Chrissy there. All right, I mean, do I cross the busy street backwards in the name of science? Well, both of them aren't going to give you any issues as long as you've got line of sight for any practical reasons, unless you always shoot your videos on an 800mm lens. Okay, so now to find out how the DJI does when it loses line of sight, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn away from the camera, but we actually started this test where we started the Rode, and it's already starting to have some digital distortion. So we're going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to walk backwards towards the camera, and we're going to see when we actually get a clean signal with it. Now, when we're not getting a clean signal with the DJI, instead of just dropping the signal completely like we see with the Rode, you'll actually get some really weird digital distortion show up in your audio, which is just as unusable as having completely dead audio. I mean, Chris, do we have a clean signal yet?
I'd say we're good.
Okay, so, all right. So about here, facing backwards, we're still getting a clean signal. So if you're not going to have line of sight with your subject, I think that's a real strike against the DJI. The Rode just has better range. Now, reliability is the most important category to me, because as long as I know the limitations of a microphone system, I can work around them. It's when unexpected things happen that can be a lot more problematic, and I've definitely run into them with the DJI wireless system. For starters, when we've plugged a variety of capsules into this through the 3.5mm mic jack, I found we're getting inconsistent buzzing a lot of the time. Things that we would recommend that OEM looks at when they're designing their next camera and their next lenses. I just don't think the transmitters are very well shielded, and that can be a real problem where you plug the mic in, it sounds fine, you go in to sit down on camera, and all of a sudden you've got buzzing in the audio, which has happened to us in a couple of our recent episodes. And probably related to that same shielding issue, we've had some of those electronic distortions when Chris has been near electronics, like his laptop.
I say Olympus because when we were testing older cameras like the EM1 Mark III, they would basically say, look, we love our autofocus.
And again, it's not something you can easily predict. It's inconsistent, and that makes it a real problem for us, because sometimes Chris is around electronic things because we review cameras. Okay, so maybe I'm being a little bit demanding because I'm looking for a dual channel, compact, very inexpensive wireless microphone system that's going to be absolutely reliable. And yeah, I haven't found it yet, but the DJI is the closest I've found to that perfect system. I mean, certainly in terms of functionality and accessories, this is the best one I've tested, and I do think I'm going to wind up picking up one of these sets. The only thing holding me back is NAB is coming up very, very soon, and I'm hoping that someone will bring out my absolute perfect mic setup. I mean, we will certainly see. We'll see if anything interesting comes up, but I've been very impressed with the DJI, and I think we're going to have to retire the Rode Wireless Go 2. So thank you so much for watching today. Definitely let us know if you'd like to hear more episodes about audio for your video production. Thanks to Chris for shooting this episode, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Be sure to like the video if you liked this video, and we will see you all again for another episode of DP Review TV very soon.